So next up, we'll switch to some culture and arts, which are very exciting. Let me welcome on stage Amit Sood of the Google Art Project and Duncan Osborn, who is the product manager of Google Cultural Institute. Welcome.
Hello, thank you.
How are you?
All well.
Hi there.
Let's have some culture here.
Great. So should we get started?
Please.
So thank you for having us. And we hope in this late afternoon session, we can excite you a little bit and tell you more about what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. So I'm just going to show you a few slides very quickly, and then I'm actually going to show you some fun stuff. So back in 2011, it was that Google decided to work with a few select museums focused around art to try and see how we can probably change the experience around art and culture online. And obviously, this project was not, something at that time a very strategic project. It was the Google 20% project, actually. And that led to the formation of what now we call the Google Cultural Institute. So why does it exist? Is there a need for Google to be in the cultural space? Is there anything we can do to try and solve what's going on with culture online? Well, we definitely think there are 3 very key reasons why there's a role that Google and other technology companies can play with regards to culture online. So the first one, which is the original motivation, remains the same even 3 years later, which is essentially probably one of my favorite problems with art and culture, which is about access. And what I mean by access here is about access for everybody at any time, in any circumstances, to any art and cultural content they would like. So we're going to explain to you what we really mean by this in a second. The next slide, where we see there's a problem, is even if you create access, even if you put all the artworks on the web, even if you put all the metadata on the web, can you actually make it interesting? Can you make it exciting? Can you actually allow users to have fun with it? Can you get this expression every time you look at something online? Maybe not that terrifying, but at least something interesting. And so there are 2 problems I've identified. One is access, and one is making it magical once you give the access. The third problem is siloed information. I mean, we are at LeWeb', so I don't have to actually talk about, the negatives of having siloed information. But in the art world, it's really amazing if you can start actually creating connections between artists, artworks, cultural archives, because then the world really opens up. Museums, yes, they do loan collections, but they don't actually share all their data and content with other museums to kind of create a collaborative platform. So that's, the next problem. How do you make connections? So now we are actually going to show you what we have done to try and solve these 3 problems very briefly and, answer this very important question, which I think remains, on top of mind for a lot of people who love art and culture is, can something that is truly built for a physical medium be exported to digital? Can it work? And I personally believe that the in-person experience of being in a museum in front of an artwork, in front of an archive exhibition, is probably the most emotional thing. You can't replace that. I don't think the internet can change that, but I think it can at least supplement and enhance it. So my friend Pierre is going to try and do some navigation while I show you a few things. So if we could start the demo and move to the website very quickly. So this is essentially a platform. This platform, started off with 17 museums around 2.5 years ago. Today, we have just crossed 600 museums, foundations, and archives over 61 countries. So if you click collections, you're going to be able to very quickly start navigating collections from Japan, Russia, pretty much South Korea, all over the world. So if you move to the map view, it really shows you that our objective with this platform, with this concept, is not to create a European or an Anglo-American perception of art and culture online, but a truly global one. And that is really the main objective. It's not about getting 1,000 French museums online. It's about getting representation from all over the world, because then the magic starts happening. So why don't we actually come back to France, come to Paris. I hope most of you here have been to the Opéra Garnier in Paris. For those who haven't, please do. We've been working with performing arts very recently, actually. We haven't really got into the performing arts sector, but the opera here in Paris came to us and said, is it possible to get people excited about what Opéra Garnier is, what we do? And we do have some amazing content, so we said, let's talk about it. And the first thing, obviously, which is now pretty simple, but in 2011, when we started, it was quite new, is providing virtual tours to all these beautiful locations. So we built these special camera sets using Street View technology to really allow you to explore the opera. Now, I can take you backstage, I can take you to the dressing rooms, to the changing rooms, I can take you pretty much everywhere in this building. In fact, very quickly, let's jump to the 4th floor on the left-hand side. No, just the levels below just over there on the corner here. If we go to the 4th floor, oh, that's all right. And if we go to that last room there, yeah, this is actually where all the dresses, all the shoes, and everything is kept for the dancers. So really, it's a behind-the-scenes, quick look. But what's really amazing is when we use some of the technology to bring that magical idea back alive, that's where the fun started happening. So let's show you the ceiling first in very, very quickly for a second before we start zooming in. The ceiling by Marc Chagall at the Opera is 18 meters from the ground. It's practically the definition of inaccessibility. You can't really go close to it. You can't see it very well because it's right in the center of the auditorium where the seats are. So we worked for 3 weeks to try and create an entire structure to go digitize this. And let's zoom into the inner circle very quickly. I mean, we've just done that in a few microseconds, and you can start seeing, canvas level detail on pretty much this artwork. Now, the same logic is applied to hundreds of Van Goghs, Rembrandts, Botticellis, Monets, you name it, it's all on the site. So I can't show you everything, but I'm giving you an idea. What's very, very interesting for us is Marc Chagall's son visited us just last week and told us that he did not know that his father had actually painted him into this painting. We didn't know, the curators didn't know, nobody knew this. But he came and he said, I really wanted to show you where I am in this painting. And that apparently, from what he found out from his family archives, is him when he was very young. And of course, connections like these, magical moments like these, is the reason why we are developing these technologies. So I'm not going to bore you with explaining to you how we do this, but we do it at scale. And that's where it gets really interesting. So let's get out of here very, very quickly. That was really fast. But if you slow it down, you're going to see that you were really, really deep into the ceiling. But let's go to Japan. Let's show them something from Japan very quickly, because I want to take you away from art and Chagall and beautiful operas to probably one of my favorite projects, which is working with the Tezuka Osamu Museum in Japan. So if you just type in over there in the search box, Tezuka Osamu, there, that's the one. And if you just look at that, we've been working with them to tell the story about Astro Boy. I think a lot of you know who Astro Boy is. Well, if you don't, it's a very interesting story about manga, and he really is the godfather of animation in Japan. So his museum decided to use these publishing tools to tell his entire life story. So it's not just about art, it's also about intangible culture that you can't really experience by just zooming into a painting. Let's zoom out of here and very quickly take you to probably the last piece that I explained to you about content being siloed, about what happens when you free it up and let museums share their collections. So one of the features we have called user galleries, which is one of our most popular features with over 400,000 user galleries being created, it allows anybody to essentially become a citizen storyteller. I don't like to say citizen curator because curators don't believe that this is curation at the moment. However, it's a form of curation. You're essentially picking your playlist and sharing it with the rest of the world. So you have a lot of interesting stuff here, but my favorite gallery, which I want to show you, is something that you will never see in a museum. Somebody, I don't know who, has created a user gallery called Cool Hats. This is literally amazing for two reasons. First, the concept, and two, the detailed research and metadata searches that he has done to create this collection, he or she. Just if you can slow down for a second, you will notice that he has actually picked self-portraits of great artists wearing amazing headwear. And you are not going to see this at a museum anytime soon. If you want to type in snakes into the search box, if you want to type in student class projects, there is so many user galleries being created by people who are getting creative with museum content, people who are interacting with museum content, not just going, looking at a painting, and then being moved out. So obviously, I can show you many more things, but what I want to try and just close out very quickly with is museums, galleries, institutions are doing great stuff with technology. It's not that they're not doing great stuff. However, they are looking at partners to really start telling these stories online. So for us, from our standpoint, none of this is really possible if the content owners don't actually put the content online. So it's all about whether we bring the museums together with us on this journey that the internet is taking, or whether we leave them behind. So I'm actually now going to hand over to Duncan, who's going to talk to you about the future. I just showed you what we've been doing. He's going to tell you what's coming in 2015. Thank you, Pierre. Pierre has just left.
Thanks, Amit. So the mission of the Cultural Institute is to help the partners that we have that provide this great content and to help them make this content accessible at a global scale. And the reason that this is important is that a lot of times it is in museums, and online is really a great way to consume this content in ways that you wouldn't necessarily do if you were in a museum. So today we're going to talk about 3 products we've been working on to help us achieve this goal. So let's talk about mobile. One of the most important parts about making content accessible is that in a museum, a lot of times you don't have access to all the information that you would like to do around the context of a piece of art. So we've probably all had that experience of seeing an artwork and having that experience change when we understand more of the context behind it. An oil painting that we know was painted by Van Gogh changes once we learn that. And a Van Gogh painting changes when we learn that that was the last painting that he ever created. As a musician, I can tell you that you hold an instrument differently when you know that in the past it was played by a great violinist in history. And it also makes you want to practice a little bit more. And the fact that all of this content is available is something that we can help with on mobile. So today, we're launching, with our partners, 11 different applications that give these kind of guided experiences through museums and give the context that's missing a lot of the times when you're in a museum. And so museums like the Musée des Arts et Métiers, Musée de Paris, and Musée Curie, these applications, starting today, are all available in the Play Store for download. And now we'll show you a quick little video that gives you a walkthrough of what these applications are like when you're using them.
The Google Cultural Institute works with museums and cultural institutions around the world to find new ways to reach people with cultural content and stories. Art and culture lovers, like the rest of us, love their smartphones, love their tablet devices, and bring them with them wherever they go, including when they visit the museum. So the Google Cultural Institute has built a platform to allow museums to easily build apps with no technical knowledge, no developers required, and those users can experience the app as virtual tours at home, or they can use the app in the museum to enhance their experience at the museum like a private tour guide. Let's take a concrete example. We're here at the Museum of Arts et Métiers here in Paris. So this amazing flying contraption, I can open my app on my smartphone, and the app tells me that this was built by a man called Clément Ader, and it flew for only 300 meters, but it was one of the first plane prototypes ever. I can immediately, in the app, share this with my friends on all the social networks. You can use the app also at home to experience a virtual tour of the museum with the aid of the indoor street view imagery that we've captured of all of the inside of the museum. It's great to be able to work with Google's amazing technology. I hope that this app will allow more and more museums to tell more and more amazing stories and reach more people than ever.
Cool. So that's how we're helping to make the in-museum experience just a little more engaging. But what if I'm at home, sitting on my couch, just reading a book? If only there were a display that's already available in everyone's homes that I could use to display art content. Now this slide kind of tells you where I'm going with this. But the team that we've been working with at Google is called Chromecast Backdrop. And they have a product that when you're not actively watching content on your TV, you can have a beautiful ambient experience that we're using to show art content. So obviously, I'm still going to sign up for a Monet. This won't replace that experience. But now I can see all sorts of different content that goes through very slowly. And if I see something that piques my interest, even though I'm not actively watching the screen, I can find out more using my tablet or my mobile phone. So let's take a look and see how this works.
Chromecast is a thumb-sized media streaming device. It plugs into an HDMI port on an HD TV. Once you plug it into your TV, you can stream music, videos, and apps right to the device and see it on the big screen. So Backdrop is a feature of Chromecast. When you're not casting content to the TV, it runs passive content, so it becomes kind of a beautiful backdrop for content, including artwork. With Backdrop, Chromecast users can explore and learn more about works from iconic artists like Monet, Van Gogh, Degas, and other artists right in their living room. Our goal at the Cultural Institute is to expose as many people to as much cultural content as possible, which is right in line with the Cultural Institute's mission of democratizing access to the world's culture. The way that Chromecast Backdrop works is after I've configured my Chromecast to show backdrop imagery, when I see something interesting on my TV, I can pull out my phone and ask my phone for more information about what I'm seeing. Okay, Google, what's on my Chromecast? Google now is showing me more information about the artwork that's on the screen, as well as links to additional information on the Cultural Institute website. In the future, we'd like to expand the collection of artwork that's available on Chromecast. Personally, it's a great experience for me in my living room to see all of this content. It's just a joy to be able to bring cultural content to this scale. I think that's the power of Chromecast, to expose as many people to as much cultural content as possible.
So that's our attempt to bring culture into the living room. But how could we do the opposite? So one of the goals that we share with the partners that we have that provide this great content is to be able to transport users in space and time. Now, we may not be able to replace the experience of standing in the Orsay Museum in Paris or duplicate the experience of standing in the gardens at the Palais of Versailles. But we can try to get as close as we can without having to buy a plane ticket. That's why we're really excited about Cardboard. Cardboard, if you haven't heard of it, is an affordable and easy-to-use VR headset that you can use with your existing Android phone. And once you drop your phone into Cardboard, you can take a virtual trip anywhere in the world. That's really powerful when it comes to culture, because in addition to exploring art, sculpture, and architecture, you can explore it in 3D and also get the entire physical context for that content, which is really powerful because there's a very tight tie between history and culture. The place where it was created is very important in that story. So let's take a look at it and see how this works with the co-inventor of the Cardboard platform.
Cardboard is a virtual reality viewer made of cardboard, and by putting your phone in it, you can experience virtual reality. We are two engineers working on the project. I think it is a very nice experience to be teleported anywhere on Earth and also to experience all the 3D content that the Google Cultural Institute already have. So when you get a cardboard, it looks like this. When you open it, you get this, and you have to assemble it as an origami. And when it's done, you have this box. You have to put your phone in it. I put the cardboard in front of me, and now I'm in the garden of Versailles. We made it on cardboard because it's a very cheap materials. We want all the community of developers to be able to make their own, so the drawings are on the website. And because it's cardboard, it's very easy to manipulate, to make a new one, to create new things based on that. It was very exciting to work here in the Google Cultural Institute lab. It's just the beginning of cardboard. Virtual reality allows so many different things. We hope that many developers will work on it to create an amazing experience.
Cool. So those are the 3 ways that we're working on helping our partners to spark curiosity at a global scale. Between mobile apps, Chromecast, and cardboard, we think we're getting a little closer to that goal. So please go ahead and take the mobile apps for a spin on the Play Store, and I'll give it back to Amit for some Q&A.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Very exciting. I'm sorry, but we're out of time for Q&A.
Perfect.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
But thank you so much.